Zombie, can you say now this is what it's all about? Aww.
About a decade ago, one of the biggest live streamers to be emerging from the Twitch platform was none other than Zombiunicorn. And as time went on, they became one of the mainstream media's darlings to go to if they ever needed a content creator to put in a product.
Zombiunicorn.
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 I'm Nati Casanova, also known as Zombiunicorn.
Today we'll be discussing how this once wholesome YouTuber became one of the most controversial streamers of the past decade. In mid-2012, the Let's Play scene was quickly reaching its peak in popularity. The rise of the personality-driven playthrough format and creation of sites like Twitch.tv developed a landscape for a new kind of creator on a scale never seen before. As the genre grew more popular, many new faces would join this ever-growing community. One of them would be none other than Nati Casanova, or more commonly known as Zombiunicorn. At the time, Nati was in college for journalism. Her only experience in the world of online content creation were songs that she would compose and post on a variety of YouTube channels prior to that point. This would change that year when she would roll a ligament in her ankle and be forced to spend much of her life at home in recovery for the next few weeks. To pass this time, she would play Smite and created a Twitch account to be part of the community by engaging with the text chats of others who streamed the game. Her first online profile was named Miss Casanova, but she claimed it got her made fun of for being female by the largely male online player base. Instead, she selected the new gender-neutral handle Zombiunicorn after receiving this name on a regular show username generator. Upon being encouraged to create her own streams by a creator she often spoke with in-game known as Lionheart, she would begin her own internet career. Her Twitch account then became something more than a way to immerse herself into the community. Soon after, her personality was receiving positive attention on its own merit. Hi-Rez Studios, the company behind Smite that Lionheart carried influence in, soon approached her to stream on their own account. From there, the attention she would get would only grow exponentially. With time, she branched out to other games and eventually created a YouTube channel later that year to post edited content with the same focus. One of the games that would become a staple for her online presence was Minecraft, which at the time was one of the most prominent subject matters for online creators, and many within this group were some of YouTube's biggest figures. It would be the first game she would play on her channel, which took the form of a modded multiplayer Let's Play series that she coined Dorkcraft. Much of her content also featured her boyfriend at the time, another creator known as Slyfox. For the next year, she would continue her career in this direction, playing a series of games such as Amnesia, Don't Starve, Awesomenauts, and remain tied to her roots of Smite and Minecraft. In addition, she would also post real-life vlogs as she attended conventions and networked. Her growth around this time was steady, and she soon established herself as a prominent figure in her community. Still, for the time being, she worked other jobs to stay afloat. In mid-2013, she would move to Denver, Colorado with Sly. However, this arrangement would only last a few months. The two would break up in August, and with no other reason to stay in the area, Nati soon moved to California. While there, she would stay in San Jose with her parents while trying to find her own place. She got a job as a yoga instructor in the meantime since she had no way of monetizing her streams.
I was in San Jose, so it was like an hour drive every day to work and like an hour back. It was crazy. And I got a flat tire one day. And they were like, look, we love you, but you're too far away. And that, it really, messes with us. You get a flat tire, something happens. So we're going to have to let you go. And I was like, so sad about it. I came home that day and streamed and I got the email that I got partnered.
Back then, being partnered with Twitch was especially difficult, but very lucrative for those who were able to do so. She gained a massive uptick in subscribers immediately afterwards, and it was then in December of 2013 that she would embrace her streaming career full-time, and moved out of her parents' house to San Francisco. Around this point, she met a man by the name of Steven Suptic, a fellow Minecraft YouTuber. He would message her on social media asking to record videos together, and after getting along quite well, she would begin dating him on January 15th, 2014. With time, the two would create a slew of shared content, much as Nati had with her previous boyfriend. Through Steve, she would also become acquainted with many of the most well-known names in the Minecraft community, a few of which included the cast of a prank and skit YouTube channel Steve was a member of known as Bam Lounge. The group consisted of Aviator Gaming, Big Mac Nation, and Bertgasm alongside Steve himself, who all shared a house in Wisconsin. Each of them were all Minecraft creators who participated in live-action content that was interesting to say the least.
Maybe I am a girl.
Hi, I'm Stacy McDonald, and I used to be a man.
With this living arrangement, Nati and Steve's relationship was kept primarily online for the most part, but she would visit him frequently, which began a long trend of her making intermittent appearances in Bam Lounge videos, in addition to content on Steve and his friends' channels. With all of this newfound publicity and her committed work ethic for her Twitch and YouTube accounts, the following few months would be her all-time peak in popularity across both platforms. In July, she gained over 11,000 followers on Twitch and 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, although with this increased attention came run-ins with controversy. The first of which occurred that same month when she attempted to attend a Minecraft-themed fan convention known as Minorama, which was unexpectedly cancelled, leading many at the time to believe it was a scam. Creators including Nati and Steve had promoted the event under the guise of it being legitimate, and attempted to make the best of the situation after already committing to the trip out to New York. Eventually, they would meet up with fans anyway, hastily forming a new event at the same location and time called UCube, for those who were still arriving. The matter was soon reported on by Keemstar while the Drama Alert channel was in its early days. In the video, Nati was even mentioned by name.
Then we had zombiunicorn saying, "Could we please get assistance and an expedited permit for an outdoor meetup for those displaced due to the cancellation of Minorama?"
The two had begun interacting online earlier that year and had been on good terms ever since. Soon after, Nati would reach her most monthly views on YouTube in August, and the following month would create a Let's Play series of The Sims 4 featuring characters modeled to look like herself and Steve, and these would soon become her most popular content on the platform. Hopes were high as this upward trend seemed to only be the start of her long and lucrative career, with more opportunities coming every day. Zombiunicorn's rise to fame moved into 2015, with Nati branching out further into new games and continuing to grow on a variety of platforms as she networked with new people. At the same time, Steve and his friends would continue to increase their own popularity as well, and soon the group moved to a new house in Seattle to expand their cast. Among the creators added to the channel's roster was Bashurverse and his girlfriend Clara Babylegs, who were also popular Minecraft YouTubers at the time. Amidst this expansion, Steve would leave the group to pursue another project, specifically a gaming channel known as Super Panic Frenzy, sponsored by Philip DeFranco's company SourceFed. This change would come off as sudden to many. Just a few months later, Nati and Steve would then separate. This was announced on Twitter as well as a deleted Tumblr post. Steve and I have decided to share that we broke up, but we're still good friends. Long distance is a son of a bitch, and we're glad to have spent the past year with each other in our lives and have no regrets. But the distance was too much for us, and it's easier to be able to just worry about ourselves moving forward. It was later revealed that Steve was the one to break up with her, and soon after he seemingly unfollowed her on Twitter, and the two would seldom interact from that point on. This also resulted in Nati abandoning her main Sims 4 series due to its association with her ex. Meanwhile, another tense situation was unfolding around one of the members of the Bam Lounge channel. In early 2015, Bashurverse was accused of having abused a minor prior to his time on YouTube. While the details surrounding this event are unclear even to this day, it was quickly pushed to the forefront of the YouTube drama community, with Keemstar having an active role in the matter.
Every single fucking night, I go through this pain. You know I have to drink NyQuil every single night in order to sleep because going upstairs to that bed is so fucking hard for me.
Soon, information was being sought out across the internet, and anyone even remotely associated with Bashur was questioned by the curious online public. Nati was no exception, and on April 12th, shortly after her breakup with Steve, she would make a Tumblr post going over what she knew. The Minecraft streamer revealed that on one of her visits to the BAM Lounge house in Seattle, she was told about Bashur's background check, which she received upon joining the company, that first revealed the allegations of him having abused a 13-year-old. She claimed that they had kept it a secret since it posed a risk to big things they had in the works, and asked her to sign an NDA agreement. Nati did so, but was coming clean now that the matter was public either way. She expressed disgust for those who acted surprised about the news of Bashur's allegations, when some of the people had a hand in keeping the situation secret beforehand, including Bashur's girlfriend Clara and possibly other members of BAM Lounge. She also added that the rumor about Clara's age being 17 at the start of her interactions with Bashur was in fact true, and that Clara had lied about it to cover for him. While Nati seemed to have hoped this statement would put an end to her being questioned, it would only do the opposite. By echoing the allegations, many would come to believe that Nati was attempting to confirm their veracity. Keemstar soon reported on the contents of her post alongside other new information on the Bashur drama. This only further spotlighted things, and there was discussion much later on about Keemstar inviting Nati and Bashur to a debate. However, she rejected this. Eventually, the streamer would clarify her stance on Bashur and Clara on Twitter when asked. Nati stated that she never accused him of exploiting a 13-year-old, and that it was simply the allegation that she was informed of at the time, and asked to keep quiet about the existence of. She stated that its inclusion in the Drama Alert video led to it being misinterpreted due to the omission of the final passage which stated, "That being said, I'm not condoning any ill will toward any of these people. I hope they can resolve all these issues, that those who need help get it, and that they can all move on." Nati added that she reached out to Bashur and listened to his troubles during this tough time, and that he had done the same for her during her own depressed point in life. Yet she claimed he now disregarded this when judging her character, and she had since cut ties. While the Bashurverse drama didn't directly affect Nati too much, given that she was only tangentially involved, it did result in a lot of her Minecraft friend group dissolving, especially paired with her breakup with Steve. She continued to be on good terms with some creators in the genre, such as Gizzy14Gazzy, but due to the previous events and the natural decline of Minecraft's popularity at the time, Nati would soon shift her focus away from the game in the latter half of 2015. She then split her time between other games, although this soon took a back seat to side ventures. Mainly, she began involving herself with mainstream TV the following year, thanks to the opportunities her internet following offered her. One example included her serving as a host on a documentary called Code Girl, as well as online media such as a video game talk show called The Attack, and much more. Due to how early on her rise to prominence had occurred in the grand scheme of the internet, Nati became one of the first Twitch partners to receive attention on mainstream television. She would also be granted opportunities of a different variety and became a Playboy model around this point as well. Zombiunicorn had a variety of sexual pictures taken for the company in a few different photo shoots, and she would vlog the time spent behind the scenes. Afterwards, she revealed in a Facebook video that she had lost 175 subscribers due to being on Playboy, but said that she didn't care and that it was not a big deal. For the next several months, her YouTube content took a backseat to these side projects, and her channel would slowly shift focus away from gaming with the exception of Twitch highlights. Although, as her career continued on with this new direction, she would soon find herself in the middle of online drama from an unexpected situation. As Nati was continuing to network with other creators, she would meet an online streamer by the name of Jeff Leach. At the time, Jeff was most known for stand-up comedy work and had since ventured out into voice acting in the online gaming sphere. This naturally led to him attending the same event as Nati, and the two striking up a friendship. Allegedly, this interaction grew more intimate and they would discuss their feelings with one another, considering whether or not to start a relationship. Later on, Jeff would recollect on their time together.
And I met with her, and I just decided that, whilst we had a bit of energy, there was a bit of flirtatious energy, certainly in our back and forth. Nothing sexual. We've never had any kind of sexual involvement or interaction. But when we met, there was flirtation. She made it clear that she was interested in that, and I made it clear that I wasn't.
However, Nati herself claimed that he had merely asked to be friends first before eventually dating rather than friend-zoning her completely, and that she had been the one to call off plans for a future relationship after feeling disrespected in their later interactions, considering him only an acquaintance after that.
We were friends at one point, we were flirting at another, and then he was like, you know what, I want longevity, I want to be friends with you first, and I was like, that's cool. Then I kind of felt disrespected by him, by things he did to me in person and the way he treated me, so then I backed off and I was like, you know what, I think that we were better as acquaintances.
Whatever the case was, they continued speaking and remained on good terms for the most part. But things would soon reach a turning point. During their talks, Jeff claimed to have been told that Nati was particularly self-conscious about being portrayed as one who created sexual content and likened to a cam girl streamer. After this, Jeff would tune into her live content to seemingly give his input on this matter, and the events that followed would create tension between them.
Basically, I had done a cooking stream. I was baking a pie, and I had the camera set up over this table. At one point, I'm grabbing a bowl and for a second, leaned over for a second to stir something and stood back up. And during that time, there was like a little bit more cleavage than normal. Not intentional whatsoever. No one else even said anything. He said in my chat to cover my tits up, and I immediately was like, get out of my chat, blah, blah, blah.
This very clearly came off as offensive and sexist to Nati. However, Jeff would defend his actions and claim that he was simply trying to help her avoid being seen as a sexual streamer. Shortly after this, he apparently commented on a picture of her, although his exact tweet has since been lost.
Then today he comments again on a picture that a company tweeted out of me that I work with and insinuates basically that I'm a cam whore again.
She also quote retweeted this remark, and the two then began speaking in the DMs. Both later claimed to have wished to resolve the matter, but these interactions would only lead to more conflict. That day on July 7th, 2016, Nati tweeted out a screenshot depicting the messages between her and Jeff that took place accompanied by the text, "Go f*** yourself, Jeff Leach, and your sexist shit." She added that Jeff's comments were not helpful and only perpetuated the problem. In the chat, Jeff said, "I stopped by your stream because I like you as a person and am interested in what you do. I mentioned once that you were showing tons of cleavage because A, I didn't know if you were aware of it, and B, I think you're better than a titty streamer." This then further angered Nati, who said that the only people who saw her that way are those that are not her viewers, adding that she wasn't showing a lot of cleavage and that she was wearing normal clothes. She called Jeff sexist, to which he said he was just trying to help her stop being viewed in a sexual manner. Nati would respond by saying, "Fact is, there aren't really that many titty streamers out there in actuality. Only sexism that doesn't allow women to be f***ing women on the web without being shamed for it." He then said that he had taken her to breakfast and listened to her troubles and questioned why she considered him disrespectful. Nati stated that she felt insulted several times and that while they were friends, she didn't consider him more than an acquaintance. Their relationship was greatly soured by these events, yet seemingly the two remained on okay terms. Unfortunately, in the next few days, things only worsened when Jeff made a tweet saying he was creating a new character for his Twitch streams, and attached images of orders for a pink wig, fake breasts, and lipstick. Nati responded by saying this was harassment. After a few days and several more interactions, things seemed to subside with no further contact between the two. This was until a little over a year later when, in late 2017, the two were coincidentally both invited to appear as live guests on a Twitch stream called Taunt Fest, where hosts would banter back and forth with one another and engage with a chat. Nati would find out Jeff would also be in attendance, and on the morning before the show, she opted out of arriving and claimed on Twitter this was because of another unnamed guest, who had a history of being sexist and harassing her as well as several other women. As the show started without her, Jeff and the other hosts soon acknowledged her sudden absence.
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
All right, well, you know what? We got that one out of the way. We got to get the first one out of the way.
What was that?
So,
No wonder why Zombiunicorn didn't want to come on.
she didn't want to come on, yeah. Because she'd have to actually be amusing.
Yeah, that is the
She
reason.
couldn't just
So
rely on
here we go.
horrendous cleavage.
Guys, we're going to find out who's the first person to win
I said it.
on Twitch.
I meant it.
Upon seeing this, Nati tweeted out, "I canceled my appearance when I found out Jeff Leach was the other guest. Came home and told Lex, I bet you anything he's going to talk about me on stream now. And I hate so much that I was right and called this." She then tagged Twitch's social media saying that Jeff had broken guidelines, and also called for him to be banned from the site. She would continue to discuss him on Twitter and seek out additional things that he had done to others during their own streams in hopes of making a case for these actions being part of a larger trend that made him worthy of being deplatformed. In addition to Twitch, she also tagged his sponsors such as Loot Crate, asking for him to no longer be hired. Tauntfest themselves were similarly made aware of his actions, and stated he would never be invited back as a host again. This would become an in-character pattern for Nati, and she would continue reporting various other Twitch users that she viewed to be in violation of guidelines and causing others pain. The next day, she followed up with a YouTube video discussing all the previous events and her stance on the matter.
Hate speech. Any content or activity that facilitates, promotes, or encourages discrimination, harassment, or violence based on race, ethnicity, gender, identity, sexual orientation, age, disability, or nationality is prohibited. There you have it. Now, you might be wondering, how is this targeted harassment? Specifically said my name, my channel name, Zombiunicorn, and then said that degrading, demeaning, harassing, sexist comment about me.
She also compiled all his other transgressions from those who submitted their own experience with him on stream, and put them all into a Google Doc with timestamps on Twitch VODs. However, this document has since been removed for terms of service violations and is lost to media. The reaction to this video upon release was quite mixed, with many feeling outraged upon realizing the extent of his actions, while others felt as though the whole situation was blown out of proportion. Still, Jeff's Twitch account was soon banned due to these events. There was a rumor going around later on that Nati managed to do this through having dated a Twitch staff member, after Jeff had speculated as such in a live stream referring to Alexander Lex Daily. But there is little evidence to confirm such a thing. Lex was a competitive CSGO player, but had no higher authority on the Twitch platform than any other popular user, and even Nati herself stated that she had never dated anyone who did possess such authority. Needless to say, the two would go on to break up the following year. So even if she did in fact possess influence due to his position, it was short-lived. As for Jeff, he seemingly took the ban quite well in the months following, and later reflected that he had learned from the situation.
I broke the terms of service and I made myself vulnerable to attack by trolls and harassers and someone who makes that kind of drama content. And for that, I only have myself to blame, no one else. So I'm going to learn a lesson. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to move on. I'm going to take the L. I lost a few sponsors, I lost my platform on Twitch, and I'm going to move on and recover from this.
After this, Jeff would continue streaming, and even landed a voice role as Ghost in the Call of Duty franchise. Nearly 4 years later, the drama between the voice actor and Zombiunicorn would resume yet again. On May 7th, 2021, a streamer who Jeff Leach was on particularly bad terms with by the name of NitroLukeDX posted a compilation video of clips taken from Jeff's streams, including the previous comment made about Nati at Tauntfest. According to Jeff, the content of this clip show was taken out of context, and many of his reactions were intentionally baited out of him from those Luke had put up to the task of provoking him. He also pointed out that Nati called women the C-word and used a homophobic slur in a stream, while Nitro Luke was guilty of similar offenses. Jeff said the motive behind him being called out during this ordeal stemmed from a video he had made 6 months prior, where he revealed that donations which Nitro Luke had collected for a charity had actually been sent to a for-profit company which he owned. In showcasing this to the public, Jeff was served a warning by a lawyer to take the video down or face litigation, which he didn't comply with. The matter was seemingly dropped by Luke until the compilation came out, which Jeff argued was an attempt to get back at him in a different way, after seeking legal action had failed. As for Nati, they would respond to this initial tweet, restating their previous wishes for him to be deplatformed, and have his sponsors cut ties as to not be affiliated with his misogynistic and hateful behavior. Nati also accused Jeff of transphobia for calling them a she, when they had recently come out as non-binary beforehand, and wished to be addressed as they/them. However, Jeff stated that he had been blocked since their last fight in late 2017, and was never made aware of this. The ordeal would lead to Jeff's sponsorships being revoked for Team Kitchen, Sneak Energy, and AIM controllers within the week. And soon he was ousted from Facebook Gaming, as was Nitro Luke GX. Activision themselves even released a statement on the matter, saying that they were ending their affiliation with Jeff. Nati would express support for this, describing that they had sent the company proof of his actions over the last few years and commended them listening, and clarified that they hadn't spoken to or about Jeff publicly for years in the face of continued harassment by fans. In a plot twist, the Call of Duty voice actor would later state that his contract with Activision had already ended several weeks prior to this, since his voice work for the franchise was complete, and that their statement was misleading by implying the recent controversy had anything to do with it. Jeff would soon apologize for his actions in the clips, and elaborated on the situation in a multitude of streams hosted on his YouTube channel in the coming weeks. However, he redacted the names of both people he had been beefing with, since at the time he was looking to pursue legal action against Luke for what he specifically had done. Today, the results of this are largely unknown. Jeff has since mentioned Nitro Luke and Nati, but seemingly no more interaction between any of these three has occurred. Upon its conclusion in 2022, this drama would leave a lasting effect on Nati's online presence. Although for the time after their initial spat with Jeff in 2016, things were far more lucrative. In mid-2017, they would continue making appearances on TV, and the most noteworthy of which would be a Fox survival reality show called Kicking and Screaming, where a survivalist and an unskilled person were paired up to work together against 9 other couples for the chance to win $500,000. Nati and their partner would in fact go on to win this grand prize and split the money 50-50. As they grew busier at this point in time, their YouTube channel would post far less frequently, although they continued to stream. Towards the end of the year, Nati would also become more vocal about the issues they cared about, as well as engage with others on Twitter. But this wasn't always to their benefit. In one instance, Keemstar screenshotted a tweet of a woman who had previously called him a waste of human life. He called her a booby streamer bitch, and Nati responded trying to persuade him to stop, stating that these were sexist lies. Keemstar then replied back in a video, arguing that Nati themselves was being sexist by only critiquing his own actions in a fight where insults were thrown both ways. Nati stated he could have called her something different. As time passed and new drama continued, zombiunicorn's relationship with Keemstar waned, and their interactions became less and less friendly in nature. But while no longer on good terms with certain members of the online community, Nati continued to involve herself with more side ventures, as a result of the opportunities their internet popularity granted them. Paired with their increasingly outspoken nature, they would soon become involved in something that would shape their online reputation for years to come. In April of 2018, another major career event was on the horizon when Nati made a tweet talking about an upcoming live event that would supposedly aid in giving women a voice in gaming and helping ease a lot of the issues they face in the community, an event that they were even hosting themselves. This venture was created by a company that would come to be known as Bully Hunters.
Get the f back in the kitchen and take your goddamn hands off of fucking video games.
Bully Hunters was designed to be a service that female gamers could call when being harassed or stalked and repeatedly killed in CSGO, with the hope of one day branching out this protection to as many games as possible where bullying can be a risk. This was done to reduce the discrimination that female gamers faced in this environment, with the company boldly claiming the number of total victims was over 21 million, and that 3 million of which had been bullied away from gaming entirely. So how did this service work, you may ask? Well, upon being called by women in distress, a member of the Bully Hunters Pro Gamer squad would join the game's lobby and seek out the harasser, killing their avatar in the match and banning them from the server. Or at least this was the intention.
The Bully Hunters started as a small group of pro gamers. But we can't do it alone. We need you.
On the 6th, the trailer for the company was uploaded, which teased the upcoming unveiling stream, and near immediately it was met with mass ridicule. Most seem to consider the concept to be an overreaction to a mundane problem, and one that would not resolve the matter at all. The group was limited to CSGO exclusively for the time being, and those familiar with the game pointed out several key issues. Mainly, the hunters wouldn't be able to join and go after bullies if the match's lobby was full, or if they joined and happened to end up on the bullies' team. Plus, if the harassment occurred during competitive play, it would be impossible to join mid-session at all. Even media outlets reporting on the matter questioned their boldly high statistics, and argued that the company would simply worsen the issue since engaging with online detractors on such a large scale often provokes them. This happened nearly immediately. Public opinion at the time was similarly negative, and backlash from the company's exposure in the public eye led to many sexist remarks being made against those involved. Unfortunately, legitimate criticism from those skeptical of their claims or the effectiveness of the company's practices was lumped in with these kind of remarks, leading to most points of inquiry to be unaddressed. Nati themselves felt similarly and acknowledged the backlash as sexist harassment that was only further justification of the group's existence. They would go so far as to say, the only reason someone would be against this campaign is if they have some deep-rooted misogyny of their own or are for harassment. On the same day as the trailer's release, they would create a video of their own elaborating in more detail. However, this was later deleted, with it being unarchived today. They stated this video even received backlash of its own, although this was nothing compared to what would soon occur following the live event just 1 week later.
3, 2. Welcome everyone, we're here at Ignite Gaming Lounge. I'm Nati Casanova, also known as Zombiunicorn. This issue is a serious one, and it's really near and dear to my heart. Making gaming a more safe and special place for everyone, a more welcoming place for all. So, if you're watching this, you probably already know what's going on.
Nati was quite disorganized during the event. Their cue cards were out of place and they stumbled over their lines often, which often led to further ridicule. This was in addition to countless other things that came to light following the stream. With further inspection, the online stats of the Bully Hunters accounts shown in the stream also weren't as impressive as the company had inferred, by labeling them as an elite squad. Not to mention, the hunters were discovered to be volunteers that were providing their services to the company for free. After a clip showing one such member hunting a bully, viewers found that the Steam accounts of the harasser, the victim, and the hunter were actually one account that had merely changed its name. The whole demonstration was staged prior, and was not conducted as a true example of the company in practice as they stated. Nati soon confirmed this themselves, and claimed that the event was not supposed to be interpreted as being recorded live. But what many felt was the most misleading of all were the sources used. One speaker who chimed in during the presentation was discovered to be a doctor specializing in diabetes with little ties to the world of gaming. And the 21 million female gamers being harassed statistic was in fact taken from a 2012 study with a sample size of 356 women, then upscaled to the entirety of female gamers. To top it all off, the motive behind the entire endeavor was seemingly to promote SteelSeries headphones, which were being sponsored on the website, and it was also revealed that this company had commissioned the advertising material for the service. With the mounting backlash in the wake of all this being discovered, Nati themselves would face the most ridicule, being the face of the organization with the most established social media presence. It should be noted that Nati themselves was simply a presenter, and while they had been working with bully hunters for 6 months prior to the event, their involvement with the inner workings was rather limited. Still, the situation would only worsen for them when they echoed the claims made in the company's statistics before the stream, yet when asked seemingly had no idea where these figures had come from. At the same time, many other viewers dug into zombiunicorn's social media backlog and discovered that there were several instances where they themselves had been using a bullying language to others, including a series of tweets calling women the C word and a stream 5 years prior where they called several people homophobic slurs, a clip also referenced by Jeff Leach.
Can't do this right now. Such faggots.
On top of these, their photo shoot for Playboy magazine was discovered and spread online. The page disappeared around April 9th, seemingly as they attempted to remove it. However, archives were already made and many used the images to further mock them. On the day before the unveiling, the stream lasted only 35 minutes of its planned 1-hour runtime. Before it was even over, Nati threatened to take down any channel reposting content of their appearance, and claimed to have done so already. There were reports of some being banned from Twitch for streaming their reactions to the event, but whether this was Nati's doing cannot be confirmed. Even still, they continued to defend bully hunters and the cause itself for the next 2 days until the full extent of their misleading behavior had come to light, and the company officially purged its entire social media presence. Bully hunters would dissolve entirely, and this climatic end to the story would become the subject of discussion for most of the YouTube community, including H3H3, Critical, and even PewDiePie. As many were discussing this blunder, Nati would then issue several statements and clarify their thoughts upon learning the entire story, one of which was an official response video. In it, they said that they weren't made aware of the nature of the sources and tried to simply direct people to the stream when asked about them. Their apology addressed most every point of contention for their response to the backlash and clarified the details surrounding their involvement with the event, which was simply as a spokesperson. Despite stating that they regretted their past actions, much of the damage had already been done, as circulation of this apology video would be comparably limited as coverage of bully hunters died down. Even still, the stream would become a staple of their comments section from that point on, being consistently brought up by onlookers who first came to learn about them for this event. In an attempt to distance themselves, Nati would refrain from talking about it in the future, and deleted content acknowledging its existence. The coverage of this story and Nati's initial reactions to the backlash would contribute to a negative reputation that was forming around them. While all creators make mistakes in their early careers, many saw their insults towards others as hypocritical for someone who intended to be on an anti-bullying campaign. This paired with the fact that Bully Hunters was now the most well-known event in their career, it would not be an easy stigma to break in the eyes of critics. Even after apologizing, Nati's remarks would continue to be used against them as they would become embroiled in further controversy in the coming years. In August, after attempts to conceal their past involvement with Playboy had been unsuccessful, they decided to instead embrace it and reposted the photos themselves on Twitter, expressing the need to do more photos of the sort now that they were in better shape. Towards the latter half of 2018, they would become open to posting content that showed more of their body, seemingly in the wake of this growing self-confidence. In October, as an attempt to make Halloween-themed material, Nati's Twitch streaming career would shift towards body painting. In this genre, artists would use paint to create intricate patterns on themselves, or often mimic the appearance of well-known characters in media. Nati's take on this would tend to gravitate towards full-body designs, which meant that they would often be fully naked from the waist up to do so, with the only exception being tape used to hide their nipples. The most infamous of which would be their dressing up as Daphne from the Scooby-Doo franchise, which I am censoring here because I'm afraid it will get me age restricted. This was fully allowed on Twitch and didn't go against their otherwise strict terms of service. However, many felt that even so, there was still a sexual aspect to it. The matter was largely up to interpretation, and this was especially evident due to the fact that Nati had lost a sponsorship sponsorship offer after they began body painting, since the company, quote, didn't wish to be associated with sexual content. Nati disagreed that what they were doing was sexual in any way. They clarified this stance in January of 2019 when a streamer known as Area Nina would be banned from Twitch for body painting herself after having only paint to cover her nipples, which failed to obscure their shape. Nati chimed in and said that the ban was justified because this detail pushed the stream into the territory of nudity. Even still, many would consider these approaches to be very similar and that Nati's content was still inherently sexual despite keeping in accordance with official guidelines. A point of contention that would become common as their streams received more and more attention. This difference of opinion between Nati and much of the online public would prove to be quite an issue in the future. On June 13th, 2019, while in attendance at the gaming convention E3, Nati posted a Twitter video while at a panel which had booth babes, a term for an event where female dancers would be hired to perform on stage in order to advertise a product, which Nati took issue with.
The company's at E3. It's 2019. Booth babes are nothing anymore. We don't do booth babes.
The tweet would soon go viral, largely due to their established infamy following bully hunters a year prior, and many consider this to be their second major controversy. Their take on booth babes was especially polarizing since many now considered Nati themselves to have made a habit of sexualizing themselves online, and that claiming scantily clad dancing was any different made them a hypocrite. Nati's opinion on the matter was that sexualizing oneself is different than having a company do it because of who is in control. While the dancers did have a choice on whether to take the job, zombiunicorn saw it as another party taking advantage of these women's appearances for the gain of men, while simultaneously alienating other women from the gaming scene by making them uncomfortable. And even so, they didn't consider their body painting streams to be sexualization since it was done with an artistic approach in mind, and not intended to be regarded in such a way. It was these two conflicting opinions that led to Nati's tweet becoming the subject of scrutiny by the online public, and intense debate would ensue. Possibly in an attempt to avoid repeating their past mistake of shifting the focus onto themselves and away from the issue, they didn't acknowledge the hypocrisy argument for the majority of the time they were defending their stance. Instead, they opted to condemn the practice of booth babes and those who agreed with it, who they called sexist and incels. Similar to their initial response to the backlash that followed bully hunters, Nati's passion for the topic resulted in a slew of strong tweets on the matter, and the focus became less about defending the stance and more about getting back at those who began to push back against them. After around a day of Nati and their detractors responding back and forth to one another, they posted a Twitter video to clarify their views on the matter.
People are taking this and going in a few directions with it, and one of the directions is they're making it about me. This isn't about me. This is just me speaking up about it. I'm not the only one who's been speaking up about it. I'm just the loudest voice. I'm also like very tenacious person. I will stand up for what's right no matter what. It doesn't matter who hates me for it. That's just how I am. I will stand up for what's right. There's like dudes being like kind of creepy pervy to the girls on stage and stuff, and this is not a gaming company. They're an energy drink, and they hired some scantily clad girls to shake their butts on stage. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with them, the women.
After posting this, a dancer who had performed at panels like these in the past responded to Nati's tweet and stated that they had made false assumptions about the profession, including that the job is simple and doesn't give them a speaking role. Nati denied bashing her work and simply stated that they wished for more respect to be given to people like her. They then responded saying that while the occasional creeps come around, the environment was not disrespectful and that her employers were fair and did not seek to exploit them. Nati continued to argue their case in other replies for the next few days, before eventually dropping the topic. But many in the YouTube community soon reported on the story, further cementing the label of hypocrite onto them, which was now only continuing to snowball from the bully hunters era. Before long, this widespread coverage would begin to have additional repercussions, after gaining back steam in the wake of this new turn of events. Zombiunicorn would be one of the hosts of a panel at Vidcon 2019, and a YouTuber by the name of PlainRock124 who knew of bully hunters would also be in attendance as an audience member. can you tell me where you first heard about zombiunicorn?
From that famous Bully Hunters clip where she goes, well, she doesn't go, the other host goes, now that's what this is all about, but yeah, that got tied to her real quick.
As the panel concluded and Nati exited the stage, Plain Rock would ask them to recite one of the infamous introductory lines from the Bully Hunters stream.
Zombie, can you say now this is what it's all about? Aww. Now this is what it's all about.
I hope that you feel better, okay?
Alright, thank you very much.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's not really nice to just harass me.
This short interaction would have far more of an effect than anyone knew at the moment.
Well, that video I clearly plastered a lot online. Basically her going after me for harassment. And after she went on her speech about the harassment, she walked away, and I'm pretty sure she talked to a security guard, because after I was done, security told me I had to leave.
Given that the event was over, this didn't pose much of an issue, but seemingly appeared to have been a reactionary measure on Nati's part, and one that he would tweet about soon after. Before long, Keemstar took notice of this and discussed the incident in a tweet of his own the next day, seemingly under the impression that Plain Rock was banned from the entirety of Vidcon. Despite being ousted from the panel, he was still able to continue attending the convention, and clarified this the same day in a reply to Keemstar's tweet, while also adding that he wasn't sure whether him being kicked out was a decision made by Nati themselves or by security. He would later upload the entirety of the footage from this event nearly 2 weeks later, further making it clear that he was continuing to attend the convention after the incident, since his encounter with Nati occurred only halfway through the video. Even still, the community grew outraged by this turn of events, which once again rekindled the drama against them. As for Nati's take on the matter, they didn't give any statement at the time, but clarified their thoughts during an interview.
One time was at Twitch or VidCon this past summer, and they were just trying to like bug me about that, you know, anti-harassment campaign. And I was really nice to them, and I just said, hey, it's not really nice, man. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna, like, it's not nice to do that, okay? And that's
were they trying to record it too, or were they
yeah, they were trying to, they recorded it, they put it on YouTube. This was actually a drama content creator type person.
They then claimed that Plain Rock intentionally misrepresented the sequence of events to make it seem as though he had been banned from the entire convention, and only clarified that this wasn't true later on. While it may have been possible for some to get this impression, his tweet simply stated he was kicked from the panel itself, and it was Keemstar who formed the conclusion that he was banned, to which Plain Rock corrected him that same day.
You know, knowing that this was a lie, he said to like Twitter and everything and tagged me in a video and said that I got him kicked out of the entire convention, which that did not happen. You know, he then corrected himself later, and he did even say, like, I don't even know if she said anything to them, but it was over and they just asked me to leave early. He corrected himself later, but the damage was done, and his like drama following and all these other drama channels picked up on it. And so I just like constantly got hate from that too. And I was just so nice. I was like, hey, dude, that's not really nice, and walked away.
They also were seemingly under the impression that Plain Rock was a drama creator exploiting the situation for the sake of controversy. However, this wasn't the case. His main focus on YouTube was tech destruction content, and vlogs centering around his life on a secondary channel.
I felt like she should have followed the advice she gave herself on the Twitch panel, where you should just laugh it off and make it a meme, because it was already a meme, so she could have laughed it off, and I think a lot of people would have respected her way more if she went that route instead.
After all this, many other YouTubers covered the event, with several of them still under the impression that Plain Rock was in fact banned from VidCon for this transgression. While this wasn't necessarily his fault as Nati thought, it was the end result of the matter.
I met up with someone who was actually on the panel. I'm not gonna say who it was. They told me they were wondering why zombiunicorn was walking away crying, and later when they got online and looked it up, they found out why.
Even still, the event was reported on correctly by many others who took issue with Nati's actions. With time, many more instances of drama occurred which surrounded them. such as in February of the following year when Keemstar reported that a male Twitch streamer by the name of XQC was banned for streaming a game with nudity, while Nati did the same and received no punishment. This wasn't exactly justified, because Nati's game was on a list of approved titles by Twitch, with minor nudity, while XQC's game was pornographic in nature, and was one of the many banned titles that weren't allowed to be streamed. Like before, Nati didn't comment on this matter at the time, although soon enough, a much more serious event would emerge that took the focus away from all else. 2 months after the Vidcon incident on June 21st, 2020, Nati would create a video on Twitter stating that years ago, they had a non-consensual sexual moment with ProSyndicate, a gaming personality well known for his skills in the Call of Duty franchise. According to them, the two were in a friends with benefits relationship, and at one point, while both were attending the event Legends of Gaming in mid-2016, some troubling things occurred.
I actually just now, yesterday, having seen so many people come out about their situations, realized that I too have a situation. I passed it off as them just being a person, and because of their power and their position, I tried to maintain, a friendly relationship with them until one day I just cut them off.
They claim that during one night with Syndicate, he said he had no protection on hand, and for that reason the two agreed for him to stop before the activity was complete. This was especially important for them since Nati didn't take birth control due to being afflicted with a condition that makes them highly reactive to hormones. The two then got drunk and became intimate, but as they approached the conclusion of their session, Syndicate did not stop the action as he agreed upon prior, instead forcibly holding Nati. Nati would then be forced to take Plan B, and the hormones drastically affected their mood for the remainder of the event. Upon them calling him out at the time, he gave them a quote, empty apology, and soon they cut contact with him entirely. They first brushed off these actions as simply him quote, being a dick, until later on when they realized upon hearing stories from other women that this would qualify as a non-consensual experience. They also added a string of replies, stating that he had also taken nude photos of them and sent them to friends without their permission, and bragged about doing it later. This same day, another Twitter user by the name of Caitlin Witcher, who also had a relationship history with Syndicate, posted a video alleging that she had her own troubling experiences with him. She claimed that he was her first partner at the age of 18, and that he told her to quote, be quiet during their first intimate encounter, and that she was supposed to like it. With hindsight after being involved with several more people, she would come to realize these actions were wrong on his part. As for evidence, very little was definitively provable about either situation due to most of these events occurring in real life and long ago. What can be said for sure, however, is that Nati did in fact interact with Syndicate in real life many times in the early portion of 2016, and also attended the Legends of Gaming event together. These interactions also came to a full stop within a few months of when the alleged event occurred. Nati posted a link to a recording of Facebook messages with Syndicate, in which they said they were not pregnant after what had happened, which she acknowledged positively. In terms of proof surrounding the nature of the non-consensual portion of the events, another creator in attendance of the same event known as Ashley Marie corroborated Nati's words, and said that she had been one of the people they had confided this information in at the time. Another friend would stick up for Caitlin in a similar manner when he posted a series of DMs exchanged back in 2015, where she vented about the experience. She had also appeared on Syndicate's channel in a Minecraft Let's Play series that would go on to be deleted after these events. The same day as the allegations were made, Twitch themselves would acknowledge this turn of events, stating that they would be looking into the matter further and aiding however they could. As for Syndicate, he would respond himself with a tweet expressing disbelief about the situation and saying he would make a statement on the false allegations against him. 3 days later, he would do just that and tweet out an image giving his full thoughts on the matter. He claimed that while he did have relationships with both of these people accusing him, he did not hold Nati down as was discussed, nor did he force them to take a morning after pill, and that the decision to do so was mutual. As for Caitlin, he said their relationship never reached sexual activity because she had stated she wasn't looking for that. He also added he was unsure about the motives of the two giving false accounts of their relationships with him. His tweet was not accompanied by any definitive evidence of his innocence, and neither Nati nor Caitlyn responded to it. With no ironclad proof of innocence or guilt, the matter was viewed largely as a he said she said situation. After the statement, Syndicate moved on from the event largely untouched, with many forgetting about it entirely. As for Nati and Caitlyn, little more would unfold with them in relation to this, aside from zombiunicorn reporting that their original tweet had been flagged and that they suspected Syndicate himself to be responsible, and that it would not only stay up, but they were soon going to share their story with media outlets. About 2 weeks later, they would also locate their old phone and find texts they claim were made in reference to the incident. In these newly surfaced pictures, Syndicate stated, "I did that with pride," and Nati would tag Twitch support in the tweet with this image in hopes of getting his account banned, and did the same when they tweeted out another screenshot later on in the discussion between the two shortly before they had cut ties. However, things would seemingly come to a close after one final tweet at Twitch, expressing their dissatisfaction with Syndicate's account remaining unbanned after they submitted further evidence, and asked if this was because he makes them a lot of money. With the momentum of the attention having largely been lost at this point, few were made aware of this new evidence, and the world largely moved on as seemingly nothing more came of it for anyone involved. zombiunicorn would continue their streaming ventures for the next few months, but in September would run into a troublesome situation. During one of their cooking streams, they would discover that a roommate had placed a camera inside one of the kitchen cabinets. They would elaborate that the cabinet contained primarily his own items, and was rarely opened by anyone else. Some speculated that the camera was placed in order to see if anyone touched his stuff. Even still, Nati claimed this was an attempt to spy on them and the other female roommate. They also stated that hiding cameras in a community space was illegal in the state of California due to the two-party consent laws when it comes to recording any form of conversation. In this video, they stated that the camera was motion activated, possibly meaning it was only intended to start recording when his cabinet was opened. Regardless, it would still have been able to be set off by things like the light switch being turned on if the sensitivity settings were cranked up, and due to the amount of foot traffic in the room, Nati argued that its function was to record private talks. That same day, their roommate would respond by saying, "Imagine getting mad when you intrude on someone else's property and then think that you're the victim because you're caught." Nati would then screenshot this post and tag a business associate of his, telling them that he was recording his female roommates without their consent. It was at this point that Nati found herself blocked and that the roommate deleted the previous tweet and privated his Twitter account. The media would soon report on this as well, largely taking Nati's side in the matter. Still, as the event was spotlighted, this support was accompanied by criticism as the public began to discuss the scenario, claiming that the response was an overreaction and that he was most likely not using the camera for the purpose they had implied. This would lead to them making a second video in response to questions posed about this, and that they stated that while the contents of the cabinet were his, he had other glassware in shared spots of the kitchen, and that his most valuable possessions in a group space were a series of guitars stored in the living room. They also clarified that they had had issues with him in the past due to his anger problems. Later, it was discovered that a second camera was linked to their router, and after searching the shared space and finding nothing, the two realized that the camera must be in his room. For this reason, many onlookers pointed to this as evidence of him trying to guard his private spaces rather than spy on the others. The drama continued into the following day, with zombiunicorn holding their stance. However, this was soon dropped after little more came of the situation. By November, Nati was able to move to another place where they could live alone, and at this point was able to end any further problems from occurring. Still, many wondered why this was made such a public matter. Near the end of 2020, Nati would be nominated for the title of Twitch Streamer of the Year by the GameHer Awards, a group which sought to give appreciation to female creators in the gaming community, even though at this point zombiunicorn did not identify as a woman. They would then post a video asking viewers to vote for them. Nati then won this award and expressed their gratitude on TikTok. From this point on, they returned to streaming at a slower rate. Although in April of 2021, midway through the final portion of their multi-year-long feud with Jeff Leach, their Twitch channel would drop 14,000 followers, and seemingly be stuck on a negative trajectory every month since then, even to this present day. As time passed from this point, their Twitch account would see less and less activity, stopping entirely after October 13th, 2021. As to an official reason for why they departed, they have said that they needed a break after being active for well over a decade. But aside from a comment saying it was to boycott the game Hogwarts Legacy, very little has been stated about their absence. Today, most of their social media appears to focus on other things aside from the internet. As for their YouTube channel, Nati had largely stopped using it in 2017. The last video to date was an announcement of them shutting down their Patreon account due to it being for a podcast that they no longer participated in. Alongside this, they were also closing their OnlyFans, after people had continuously asked for risque content when they didn't use it for this purpose, and were displeased that the expectation for them to do so still persisted. They were instead moving to a similar paid site called Funhouse, since the type of content expected there was more in line with what they sought to post. As of today, they remain active here, as well as a handful of other paid social media platforms. While still online, it seems as though most of their interaction on the internet is kept behind the scenes, and with that came a natural decrease in the controversy they had been involved in. Needless to say, having the spotlight shifted away from them may have been a comfort in and of itself. And with all their other life events, it's possible that they may not even need to rely on revenue from their channels to stay afloat anymore. Seemingly, their priorities in life have shifted away from the online sphere. And whether this was a result of them simply growing tired of the routine or a culmination of past controversy is a matter of personal opinion with no clear answer.